Thank you for staying with us. You're watching Breakfast Daily here on ChannelOne TV. It's time to get into the conversation surrounding the various headlines that we've brought you from the front pages of the dailies as well as our web portals, okay? Now, we know that the Bawku issue has been topical following renewed clashes in the area that has resulted in the loss of lives and the destruction of property. We know that there was an attempted attack on the house of the Member of Parliament for Bawku Central, who doubles as the majority leader in Parliament, Mahama Yariga. We know also that the police commander in the area's residence had been attacked. The IGP has been in the area since last week. We know that he's met with some opinion leaders, some chiefs, and has made some pronouncements. Okay, so we're going to go into a conversation surrounding the Bawku issue and, of course, how we can deal with it going forward. I have in studio with me the editor of the News Center newspaper and newscenter.com, Elvis Dako. Good morning, boss.
Good morning.
I still call you boss. But the people don't know why. So we'll deal with them later.
Right
Yeah, we'll deal with them later. Then Ibrahim Ajay is also here. He's a former Assistant Secretary, Office of the former President. Good morning, Ibrahim.
That's a very good morning to you and our viewers and listeners.
I hope you're well.
Very well, thank you.
How was the weekend?
Quiet, I think, yeah, by all accounts. Yeah?
That was cool. I see a smile on your face. How was the weekend?
Oh, so it was a normal weekend.
Very well. All right, let's get into the issues this morning. We'll start off from Bawku. And I mean, the conflict doesn't seem to want to end. The feuding factions have not come to a compromise yet. Mr. Mahama, the president, has told us about the Otumfuo-led mediation, which he says will start this week. He mentioned last week that it will start this week. So we're looking forward to that. But the IGP was in Bawku over the last week. And he made a statement that has generated some level of controversy. We've had the minority go at him. Okay, so I want to read a very quick story, a few paragraphs of a story that we publish here on ChannelOne News. ChannelOne, or I'll take you to citynewsroom.com real quick and bring you a few paragraphs. It says, minority slams IGP over recruitment promise to Bawku residents. Minority Chief Whip Frank Anodompre has criticized the Inspector General of Police IGP Christian Tete Yohunu over what he describes as a reckless and unfortunate statement concerning the ongoing Bawku conflict. Addressing a press conference held by the minority on the Bawku crisis, Anodompre expressed deep concern over the IGP's comments, suggesting that individuals who lay down their arms could be considered for recruitment into the police service. The comment of the IGP, this is purported to be his major public statement ever since he was appointed. And maybe he made the statement just on the spur of the moment, but it is clearly an unfortunate statement. Quote, this is Anodompre speaking there in reaction to that IGP statement. I haven't seen an official communication on this statement and the backlash that has followed from the police yet. I could be wrong, but I haven't seen any such communication yet. But first of all, I don't know if you listened or watched that video of the IGP. And do you think that the reactions that are coming after as much ado about nothing because it could just be an inference that people are making, or it was a direct statement that lay down your tools and I'll give you jobs? Elvis,
well, I was not there, so I can only speak to the reports that have come. And from all platforms that I've monitored, it's the same report that is promised them that they should lay down their tools and I will give them jobs, recruit them to security services. And as the service has also not issued any statement to counter the reports, I believe that the reporters that were there were many, and all of them will not be reporting the same thing if the IGP had not said so. And therefore, I believe strongly that whatever has been reported across all channels, media platforms, is what actually the IGP has said. And I think that the IGP, in my opinion, could have handled issues better. It's either...
just before you go on, I'm picking a story from our website. There's a clarification from the IGP that says recruits will go through standard procedure. IGP clarifies. Story reads, the Inspector General of Police, Christian Teteyohunu, has clarified his recent remarks suggesting that youth in Bawku will be given priority in police recruitment if they lay down their arms. His clarification follows public backlash and media scrutiny after a video of his interaction with residents in Bawku began circulating online. Now, addressing the media, the IGP explained that his comments were aimed at decentralizing the recruitment process to ensure inclusivity, particularly for individuals in remote and conflict-affected areas. According to Mr. Yohunu, he assured the youth of Bawku that they will be given the opportunity to apply to the Ghana Police Service, but stressed that all applicants will still be required to go through the standard recruitment procedures.
This one is just, I don't, he has not studied anything different. What the clarification is the same thing that has been reported. Police service is open to everybody to apply anytime, any day. Nobody has been prevented from applying, or nobody has been favored, or nobody. So the clarification itself has actually not given us anything. In fact, if I look at it from Kwadukwesi's point of view, he's only reinforcing and actually worsening the problem that he has said. If they had even kept quiet and not clarified, it would have been better. But because this clarification has given, actually, to me, does not even, it even creates more problems for the issue.
Right.
Okay. Nobody has said that you said they will enter the police service without any scrutiny. The statement that they should lay down their arms and you give them jobs, the inference or the interpretation they will put on it that the people are fighting because of lack of job opportunities. Unfortunately, that is not why the people are fighting. So if they are not fighting because of lack of job opportunity, how does a promise of job opportunity solve the problem? So I sat down and said, is it that the IGP didn't receive the right briefing about the history of the Bawku conflict and what actually is at stake? It's either he hasn't
but
received
this is the man who has been in the service for how many years?
Yes, I know. Yeah,
you should know about the Bawku conflict.
You can know about the Bawku conflict, there's a conflict. But to know what really is the bottom or the key issue can also be another issue. And so, as I always say, communication is so important in everything. You go into Bawku as an IGP, the question, what briefing was he giving? What briefing was the IGP giving that this is the situation on the ground? These are the warring factions. These are the issues. These are the thorny issues in it. If I believe he had been given that kind of briefing, that statement of giving a job will not even come in, because there's no way. With the little that I've read and following the Bawku issue, it has nothing to do with
there's
job
no
opportunities.
Link between unemployment and
there's nothing like that. The Bawku issue is purely an issue of traditional authorities who are fighting to determine who is the rightful traditional ruler, who actually owns the place, who is the rightful authority in that area. And this is between the Mamprusis and the Kusasis. And this dates back to centuries. And if you read, there is always one way or the other. Even historians who have written about it, I've read several writings about from various historians, and nobody is able to actually pinpoint that they are certain that this is the right or wrong of the place. So if you follow the writings of historians who actually have looked at how these people got to the place, because both the Mamprusis and the Kusasis actually migrated from different countries to Ghana and settled in the same area. And when you read some accounts, it tells you that at a point, the Kusasis came under attack from forces around. And then they sought the support of the Mamprusis to be able to defeat their enemies. And so there's a lot that you need to read about. So when it comes to the issue of people trying to tell you that I am the rightful authority here, people are emotionally attached to their tradition, their traditional areas, where they believe belongs to them. So when people are fighting because they strongly believe that we are the rightful authority here, somebody is trying to usurp our authority and will not accept that. It's not an easy thing to deal with, especially when various accounts of what really happened and who should be the authority there has been a controversial issue. And this issue has come a long way. I remember under the previous government, when the Mamprosis installed a chief, and that the heat started, the then government denounced that they don't recognize any other chief but the Bawku Naba as the only overlord of the area. At that time, people were pushing that then the person installed should be arrested and all that. Security intelligence also showed that if the news person also is arrested, it could escalate the situation at the place. So the call for arrest of the newly installed chief was also not followed up by security, but they believe that any attempt to arrest him could also lead to all kinds of what we are seeing today. And therefore, I think that for the IGP to go there, if he had had the little briefing or the little information I am talking about or sharing on this platform, I'm very sure that he wouldn't have talked about the issue of job opportunity. Because when people are fighting that I'm the right authority here, it has nothing to do with job opportunities. It has nothing to do with job. They are just trying to protect their territory. It is like Ghana sitting here, and then every country wakes up and said, we think that we came here before Ghana, and we think that the land that Ghana is occupying, we are the first to come to this particular location in West Africa, and we think that we own that place, and therefore we are setting up our army to come and fight Ghana. It's something that people should look at critically. And even if you take chieftaincy away, look at the Russia-Ukraine war. It used to be USSR that broke up to into various parts. Attempts by Russia now to say they want to reunification, to bring back all those countries that broke away when the USSR broke down. This is what is happening in Ukraine now. And look at the number of people who are dead in that war. Yet, Russia is not willing to back down. Ukraine is not willing to back down. Everybody is trying to protect their sovereignty. It's what is happening in Bawku. It's about who own the sovereign authority within that jurisdiction. And so it's a fight between two groups who are trying to exert authority and says, we own the sovereign authority of Bawku.
Right.
And that is the issue at stake. So I don't think that a promise of I'll give the youth job is what is at stake here. And so I believe that if the IGP got it wrong, he got it wrong. And this is why I've always advised communication. Let it start from a certain point. If there is the PRO in the region, or even the national police PRO is the one who made this move, the IGP would have come to say, what the person has said, it shouldn't have been the case. And that is not the purpose of being there. They are there to resolve an issue. But now it has come from the final authority of the institution. So now addressing it becomes a problem. You can't say anything. One day come back to say, it's difficult for people to come and admit that what they have said is wrong. So it's always an attempt to justify. That is what happens in communication. Because you say, how will people see me if I say what I've said is wrong? I shouldn't have said it. So most of the time, people are likely to justify or try to clarify.
Instead of admitting.
But if it's a subordinate who has said it, and the superior comes and says, oh no, the subordinate got it wrong. That is simple. And then it kills all the issue. But when the overall boss says it, you cannot come back and say that I got it wrong. It's difficult for most people to say I got it wrong. So you always try to rationalize what you have said. And then once you attempt to rationalize, you create more room for more criticism.
Sure. Thank you. We'll go another round so we can look at possible solutions and how to deal with it. I'm going to pick your thoughts on it, Ibrahim, but let me say good morning to Chairman Adekoka and welcome to our studios. A former Greater Accra Regional Chairman. Emeritus. The Chairman Emeritus of the NDC. Welcome, sir. Good to have you. Good to have you. All right. Ibrahim, let me come with you. Let's deal with the IGP's end of the Bawku issue, and then we can look at the conflict itself and how we can profess some solutions.
No, that's before. Thank you very much. Good morning again. And let me quickly say to my senior brother Adekoka, Akweche. We met. It's been a while since we met. Back to the issue. I was alarmed, and I want to say this as dispassionately as possible, that the IGP himself, the Inspector General of Police, made this pronouncement. Officers mentioned that he's a seasoned security personnel in this country, and we give him credit. But to make such a pronouncement, it just seems to unravel all the peace efforts that we're doing, because what you're doing is you are somehow incentivizing the youth by showing them that violence creates opportunities. And his clarification also doesn't hold water. Recruitment into the police is already decentralized. You don't come to Accra to go into the police. Where do you go firstly? You go online. Then there's the, what do you call it, the health checks, they call it.
Yeah.
Is it body check, medical checks? These are all done regionally.
Yeah.
So that clarification has rather made things worse, because people can look to the reality and say, how do you say that your aim was to decentralize recruitment process and make it a regional balance? That is already on the ground, with all due respect to the IGP. Now, what you do by his pronouncement, you actually undermine the recruitment process. He said he's going to send a team specifically to Bawku. Now, the caliber of recruits, I mean, there's a process. One, you have to be literate, you have to be numerate. And if you don't qualify here, can you imagine that you make a promise, I lay down my arms, and then I get to the space where I'm expecting to be recruited, then you reject me because you say either I'm too short, because there's a height requirement, or I'm illiterate. That was not what you said to me. You said, lay down my arms and I'll get a job. And then there's the issue of infiltration. Even presently, and I don't say this is any disservice to our Ghana police men and women, globally, you have bad nuts within every institution, whether it's police, whether it's a political architecture, you name it. Can you imagine having, people who don't have the community at heart, now finding a sure pathway to gaining access to the police? Now, when you gain access to the police, now you have access to the police armory. Yes. Now you have a legitimate access to guns and ammunition.
What you will be assigned.
Yes, but I'm just saying that. Armory. Yeah, but I'm just saying that opportunity to enter the ecosystem of the police as somebody who's not having the community at heart. Now you're giving a sure pathway. What he should do is retract. It's better, because that way, not for our sake, but for the community in Bawku, our young men and women there. If you don't retract, we can do all the political talking here. But if they don't hear it from you and say, what I meant to say, and the clarification does not help. Okay? Because what will happen now? Now we're seeing incidences of Galamsey members using armed conflict. Am I right? So you go to a Galamsey area. Will you then offer the same thing? And I mean, I can go on and on without being ad nauseum. But I think I've made the point. We, the politicians talking about it, will not convince the young men and women of Bawku that what was said, he misspoke. And he needs to re-clarify the clarification. And sometimes be bold and say, I spoke in a way to somehow bring unity, recognizing that there are employment difficulties. Poverty can be an ingredient of the Bawku conflict. But Elvis mentioned, this thing goes back centuries. It's not about employment. Whereby the Mamprusis will say that they secured the area for trade routes centuries ago. The Kusasis will say differently. Okay? Then you have in the British colonial era, where the British colonial power then recognized the Mamprusi paramountcy. I mean, as if you want a nexus point, a ground zero, as to where these things came from. You understand me? And so these are the ingredients or the factors that you need to resolve. It's not about giving jobs. It's about trying to, and we've been doing, God knows we've been doing as a country, trying to resolve, and inshallah, I'm praying that the Asantehini's involvement, as he did with Dagban, the Dagbon crisis will yield some positive outcome. So I don't want to repeat myself.
Very well.
The IGP needs to, but he needs to come back
For
again.
you, he should retract.
He should retract and be bold about it.
Right.
Nobody sometimes when you retract, you rather are given the credit from the whole populace that you've recognized the right thing and you've done it.
Right.
Don't see it as a U-turn that will be a bad mark on your leadership.
Very well, Brian. Thank you. Chairman.
Yes, my brother.
Good morning again.
Morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. I trust you're well.
In your blue suit
Thank you, Chairman.
Yes. Let me say good morning to my is it Elvis? Eh?
Yes.
My brother here. We've been going to program for a long time.
More than 20 years.
In those days.
More than 20 years.
Yes. Yeah. And your crew as well. Unfortunately, I have to disagree with my two brothers here.
Is it?
Definitely. I have to disagree with them. You know, this Bawku matter has been on the books for so many years.
Yes.
You rightly said that. What's the solution? You know, what are these? Look, various interventions have been made. And each of them is want to have its own term. You have the Mampusis and the Kusasis.
But Chairman, sorry, in disagreeing with the two of them, are you endorsing the statement of the IGP?
I'm coming there. Let me come there. Let me start. Don't worry. Don't drink the soup while the fufu.
The fufu is
You understand? It has been, like you said, so many efforts have been made to resolve the issue. But one, each of them want their own paramountcy. Each of them wants their own. Unfortunately, the mix. Some of them have intermarried. Yeah. For instance, the leader of majority leader, the mother is a Kusasi, the father is a Mampusi. So here's a person caught in between the fight. Now, what's the solution? Most of these young boys are unemployed. When I've been to Bawku, I'm sure all of us here have been to Bawku. In the campaign, when we went there, and most of them are unemployed. And don't forget that in those areas, the birth rate is very, very high. And it's not commensurate to the employment situation. As they keep growing, they don't get work to do. It's supposed to be a farming community. Unfortunately, with this drought and all these things, we have neglected the agricultural sector. So these are idle hands. So anybody comes and gives them some goro and give them a gun. There are warlords who provide these guns. So you need to have some sort of employment, serious employment in that area. And the youth have to be brought, because most of these troubles are caused by the youth. So I think the import of what the IGP was saying, which probably he came to clarify the situation, that not that he's just going to recruit people without due process. They definitely are going to go through the due. But I believe the import of that thing is to unite the two factions together. Because if you have the Kusasi and Mampusi, people working in the police force together, they understand themselves. They are able, through their training, sit down to jaw and understand why the two of us must come together. And you go to most of the conflict areas, Rwanda, what happened? After the war, they had to bring the Tutsi and the name of the other group, the Hutus, together. They laid down their arms and they assimilated. And this is what is lacking in that area. So they have two factions. Look at the election that went on there. MPP mostly got 0 at the Kusasi areas. Wali, where they had 0 in some of their constituencies. You understand? Polling stations. What does it tell you? It says the place has become politically divided. And if we don't look at that aspect of how to bring this youth together, Asanteni can do all that he wants to do. But look at Dagon. What happened? By bringing the two, heads together, they have been able to resolve their issue. You can't solve. You can't take one side and leave the other side. You will never succeed. So you must make effort to try and integrate and let these young boys assimilate. Maybe they have to fine-tune the words that they use or find. Later on, I heard him trying to fine-tune it. That due process will be done. the necessary protocols but I believe the import was this idea of bringing the two sides together, and the only thing you can do that is by both of them assimilating, when you are working together, even from different. I mean, my brother here is Ghana. If he has a Fanti or an Ashanti work, they tend to bond. Eventually, if there's any differences, because of the bond that they have, they will be able to sit down to talk before any action is embarked on. So let us look at this in a different, holistic manner.
But given the opportunity, would you have spoken in that way and manner?
Look at the way I'm speaking.
Exactly, because the conflicts in this country is not just Bawku.
Yeah.
Now we have an issue of Galamsey we are dealing with, and it's being put under the umbrella of bread and butter issue.
But everything.
So if we should go promising each and everybody jobs to lay down tools, lay down arms.
Look, the bottom line is bread and butter. That's the bottom line of our living here. Shelter, food, and clothing. These are the three main needs of a human being. And if you don't resolve these issues, next time you are wearing your suit, somebody will stop you in there and remove it from you to wear it. So it's very important. Why are they doing the galamsey? It's because they have to eat. So how do we decouple the illegalities and try to create an enabling environment or alternative employment? It's all bread and butter issue. This morning, why are we here?
Some argue that the IGP was there for security reasons. So why did he shift into
when
employment?
you went there, you saw the situation on the ground. As you move along, you see that sometimes these things are fluid. He's a politician. He goes to the stage, he looks at the crowd, and says if he's going to talk, maybe what he has written on paper. If he decides to go and say that, he will be lynched. Immediately, he turns the page and then find something that will be palatable to the people. Anamiwa, mi Male.
Oh, Mali. You're right. Oh, Mali, but in this context,
You understand?
respectfully, Chairman,
Yeah.
I just want to add this point here. You're saying that the IGP, was responding to the situation. That is not his
Exactly.
objective.
He was there for security reasons.
Yeah.
And I believe
leave it to the. I mean, but I won't interject too much. Leave it for the policymakers, and in fact, allow the traditional leadership. I'm coming. One more minute. Allow the traditional leadership to actually convey this initiative. Then it's more solid.
Very well.
You know,
Very well.
I started
get
by
back to Chairman.
telling you that so many efforts have been made in this direction. This Bawku problem. Not today. When we were kids, the Kusasi said they came there first and they acquired the land. And they invited the Mampus people to come and join them. And all of us said they want to take their land from them. So once a land issue, it's a tribal issue, right? And so for centuries, maybe decades, this has been going on. You go there, realize that, look, most of these boys are unemployed. As an IGP, can I say something so that the policy makers that you are talking about, it will prick our conscience and we start looking that direction. Somebody must speak. When that person speaks, then me and you today are sitting here debating it, and then you are going to ask, how are we going to solve it? And that's part of the solution, to find jobs for the kids. But if he hadn't said that, we all will think it's a security situation. Yes, it is. But there are underlying factors. And the underlying factors, they are idle hands. All this Boko Haram and all this done is because of idle hands. If you are not doing something, someone comes to put a truck there, put you inside and say, come on, let's go. Then they go indoctrinate you, give you something, and then you start causing mayhem. So we have to tackle the issue from unemployment levels. And population there is growing, no work, right? Nothing. The police probably are maybe the police, I don't know where they come, whether they come from Accra or what they call, wherever part of, they don't understand the issue there. So it's very important that the youth are assimilated within the enclave, and probably it will be a stepping stone in the right direction.
Nana Tufo, can I come in?
Briefly.
We have a precedent in our lifetime, our political lifetime. For over 20 years, thereabouts, close to 20 years, the Dagbon crisis, rooted in chieftaincy, caused problems within Yendi and Tamale as a whole. Am I right?
Yeah.
Did we, when I say we, NDC or MPP administrations, because it's political, offer recruitment as a solution to the youth of Yendi and Tamale during the Dagbon crisis? No. Am I right?
Yeah.
Again, given that precedent, don't somehow pour oil on the fire. Secondly, per what chairman is saying, is he telling me that there's no Kusasi or Mamprosi presently in the Bawku police service? Because he's saying Kusasis and Mamprosis can work together in the police service.
Well, we have to find out.
But they are there.
Well, we have to find out.
I think it would be a disservice to Ghana if the Bawku police personnel have no Mamprosi or Kusasi at all, or only have Mamprosi or Kusasi there. If that was the case, we would know. The police recruit generally on the region. You can't be in, Hamile. Hamile has a border with where? Burkina Faso. And then they send you all the way to Cape Coast, to the south. Do you get it? Just does not work that way. You can be transferred later. So I want to somehow disabuse people's minds that somehow this is an opportunity for Kusasis and Mamprosis to work together. No, the opportunity is there, whereby we jaw. Yes, it's been centuries. But if you're looking for employment, that's where the IGP should have kept mute, respectfully. You mentioned that it's an agrarian economy, and there are farmers. In fact, Ghana, we are farmers. You know, over 50% of our GDP, over 60% of our labor force are engaged in farming. So we have an agrarian economy. Why not feed into, and I think what President John Mahama talked about, Feed Ghana. I think we'll discuss it, it's on your schedule. Look at how we can channel those youth into agribusiness, not cutlass and hoe. But we'll get into that discussion, see these initiatives.
Very well. Elvis, we know that the O2 Osei II has started a mediation process to help bring some lasting peace or solution to the Bawku issue. But we know that the issue also was reignited when a rival chief returned to the area somewhere October last year. This rival chief is still in the area. So, I mean, how do we've heard arguments that remove the rival chief and it brings peace to the area. Some say no, merely removing him does not solve the issue. What should be the approach?
See, first of all, let me say that what the IGP has said shouldn't be the case. Even if something like that is supposed to be done, if they even, after all the negotiations, they realize that offering youth in Bawku jobs could help, it should be done under the carpet. Because we have a yawning unemployment crisis among the youth in Ghana. So if you publicly tell me that there's an area they are fighting and the solution to their fight is to give them jobs, then you are telling me that the unemployed youth who are struggling to get a job, they should pick up arms and they will get a job. That is a wrong signal, and we should not entertain that, because the youth unemployment in this country is a time bomb that we are sitting on. So we should never say things or do anything that sends the signal. The kind of signal that, as I said, if they have done all the negotiation underground and they realize that offering the young people their job, so it is something that should be done in the secret, not open. So for IGP to say it in the open, we must all admit that it's not the right thing to say at that time.
It's in bad taste.
Considering the huge youth unemployment in this country, it's not the right thing to say. And how many people can the government employ? How many people can the police, even all the security agencies put together? If we look at the number of young people, we are told that about 14% of the young people who are ready for the job market don't have a job. Let me just put it at 1 million. Are we telling me that the police service can even pick 500,000? All the security agencies put together. So see, we are a country that we all know our problems. So let's deal with things in a manner that will not create a bigger problem for us. And that is very important for all of us. We should not be sending certain signals. That's why I said that Yohunu is a very experienced policeman. He knows his job. In terms, I can't take anything away from him. But for that particular statement, I will say that looking at our country, the high unemployment among the youth, certain signals should not be sent.
Right.
And I think that we must put that in perspective that we cannot create a situation that can degenerate into something else. We have to be very careful. We have to be very careful because we are living in a sub-region that we all know that most countries around us are unstable.
Yeah.
We are living in an area that we must be very careful of the actions we take and the things we say because we are surrounded by so many countries and the things that are happening in those countries.
Yeah.
We have been praying and working towards that will never happen to our country. That is why our actions and things we say, we must be very careful. What is happening in that place? If I tell you that I can proffer a solution, I don't think I can. Yeah. What I will say is that the politicians will step aside. Politicians will step aside.
I was actually going to throw that at the two
because
of them.
in the last campaign, President Mahama has said that when NDC is in power, Bawku is in peace. When NDC is not in power, then there is flames in Bawku.
Yeah.
Now NDC is in power and there's flame in Bawku. So what is the basis for the statement that he has said? So you see, when it comes to chieftaincy, people are emotionally attached to this.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we should not bring politics into things that people are emotionally attached to. The moment to bring politics to areas where people have high emotions, people feel that they are inseparable from their tradition, their culture, their sovereignty in the traditional areas. If you bring it there, you may have a problem.
Yeah.
And that's what I always tell people about. When we hear that they say constituencies have been created, regions have been created, most of the time it's not politicians who create them. It is chiefs, it is traditional authorities who create that problem. Because some chiefs believe that in the constituency, there are other bigger chiefs who have more prominence than him or her. So if the constituency is created from existing constituency, he will now become a bigger chief in the new constituency. So he wants a new constituency to be created. If a region is carved out of another region, currently the region I'm in, there are bigger chiefs and I'm not shining, I'm not being seen. So if a new region is created, looking at where the creation will be done, with the chiefs that are left, I will become the most prominent chief.
Right.
So when you look at the way we are attached to some of these things, and if you go to place to talk to people, no, these people, they are cheating us. Always they are the ones who get the prominence. Their chief seems to be powerful than our chief. If they create a constituency for us, we also have our power as traditional and local people. Isn't that when you go around Ghana and listen to the way people are so passionate about some of this? I say, but you are in a constituency. A constituency is supposed to be a political authority. He said, hey, because the political authority is created in the way that one is more powerful than our own.
Right.
So you see that when you study, you go around Ghana and see how people react to issues about local sovereignty. You will not want to involve politics into issues like that are more very emotional. So I want everything political to be out.
Right.
If the Otunfo is coming in, I believe that, not Otunfo alone, I believe that there may be other chiefs in Ghana who can also help. Because see, if we want to quantify, even just in the Fourth Republic, just leave all the others, just in the Fourth Republic, if we want to quantify the amount of money that this country has sunk into keeping the peace in Bawku, if it had gone into infrastructure development, Bawku may be looking like Singapore or Malaysia. The state institutions will not release the figures. But I think that it's about time some of these issues are brought to bear for the people to know that in the 32 years in this Fourth Republic, this is the total amount that has been sunk into peacekeeping in this area. And if there had not been conflict there, and that amount of money had gone into development in the area, probably that would have been one of the best places people would want to live in this country. For people to understand that conflict actually cost everybody. We have been told that about 300 people are dead. No amount of money can buy one person's life, but they have killed over 300 people already, and more are likely to die because the tension is still there.
Yeah.
I know too. I remember reading about 2 immigration officers last year who were shot and killed in Bawku. They were just on duty. They were just there to do their work. But as a result of the conflict, They were shot. They were not even from there. One is from voter in Sabna in my constituency. And is on duty to protect the people, but has been shot to death. Policemen have been killed. Soldiers have been said they have been shot. So we should understand that if we are looking at the cost of war, the cost of war to a nation and to the people that are actually fighting, it is something that the message needs to be preached. I think some of this need to be brought to the fore for people to understand the kind of harm that Bawku conflict has caused.
Very thank you. Ibrahim, it's about time. Hands off to the politicians.
100%.
Stay away. Let the consultation process go on.
100%. I agree with you 100%. What Elvis said is the icing on the cake of this discussion.
But we would be bold enough to do that. Because there's political capital.
Well, here's the case. 2009 to 2016, we all have our phones on us. There was curfews throughout. Who was in power? John Mahama and Atta Mills at the time. Atta Mills from up until 2012. There was targeted killings, both Mamprasi and Kusasi. From 2009 to 2016, I'm giving you a timeline. I will say this on the show as I'm talking. It's interactive. You also Google and come and say, Brema Joe O'Malley, you're lying.
But see, it's this equalization or comparison that we don't want.
No, it's not about equalization. You said about time, hands off. I'm making reference, and I'm happy that Elvis mentioned it, that kind of politicization. Have you heard an NPP person mention this, that when we're in power, the place is calm? There, no, you've created a dichotomy of somehow putting the whole conflict on a political footing. And it was very unfortunate that then candidate Mahama made that statement. And today the chickens have come home to roost. How do you say such a thing? How do you say such a thing? Because now you are going to reap the whirlwind of what you created. And I'm giving reference that what he said was a fallacy, if not a lie. Because I've given you a period in which there was curfews throughout 2009 to 2016. Houses were being burnt throughout 2009 to 2016. There was targeted killing on both Mamprasi and Kusasi. So that political interference or pronouncement by candidate Mahama, I'm going to say it's unfortunate. I'm being diplomatically respectful to him as a personality. It's wrong. What we need to do is somehow remove the politics. And as I said, we have a precedent in Dagbon. The Asantehini's leadership was critical, if not pivotal, in creating that space for peace. Because it was like a peer review mechanism. It's chiefs and chiefs jaw-jawing. Leave we the politicians out, who are always looking for that political advantage. Do you get me? And when we do that, you'll find that Bawku will find its own pathway. You know, I'm talking on the political side, so on the traditional side, because the root is what? Chieftaincy. So let's find a way to have a construct, an architecture where the chiefs, the traditional leadership, with one of their own peers, in no less a person than the Asantehini, can help create that pathway to peace. Then we, the politicians, can support the process by making sure that, again, jobs, employment, those are the incentives that make you focus on prosperity and not war, is what we can then add to the table.
Very well. Chairman, I'll come to you, but let me take a quick break here. When I come back, I'll give you your final take on this, and then we can move to some other stories. This is Breakfast Daily here on Channel One Television. Stay with us. We'll be right back.